Hi, today we're going to work on making predictions from scatter plots. So before we get started, let's make sure to put your name at the top of your paper so we'll know exactly who it belongs to. All right, so let's talk about a coffee shop and their sales. We're learning in this particular situation that Maurice and Beatrice have opened a new store called the Trendy Cafe, and their goal is to reach a profit of $25,000 in their 30th month of business. The table and the scatter plot below represent the profit in thousands of dollars, P, that they have made during the first 12 months. All right, so what are some important pieces of information that we already know? We know that their goal is $25,000, so let's write goal. And their timeline of hoping to get that accomplished is by 30 months. We know that the table and the scatter plot represent thousands of dollars, so let's underline that. And that they did that in what they have in their first 12 months of business. Okay. So we see our table, we see our scatter plot, and this is pretty dark. We have T for months, and we have P for profit in thousands of dollars. All right, so here is the scatter plot that we have been given. Remember that under normal circumstances, all circumstances, your horizontal axis is your x-axis, and your vertical axis, this is your y-axis. All right, so the first question that we are asked is, what does the ordered pair of 12 and 8.5 represent in this situation? Well, we know that in a coordinate point, the first number is always x, and the second number is always y. And we see from our labeled graph that the x-axis is discussing months, or T for time. So x, which is 12, is really like a T for time. And we see from our scatter plot that the y-axis is also known as P for profit. So we learned pretty quickly that in 12 months, this cafe has made a profit of $8.5 thousand. All right. So the next question that we are asked to address is to draw a trend line. So this is something important to look at. This is an average. This line is drawn by you. It is going through the average area of the given points. You do not connect the dots like you did in kindergarten. It's just a straight line through the average area of the points. So let's define this quickly. And to draw your trend line, you really need to use a straight edge. That can be your ID badge, that could be a ruler, that could be a protractor. So if you don't have one, pause the video and go get one, because I know I have lots of them in class. So here is a straight edge that I have, a little ruler, And to put this through the average area of the points, you're not looking up here above the points. You're not looking down here below the points. You're not going through the origin necessarily. You're just going through the average area of the points. And that means that your trend line is going to be slightly different from my trend line. Yeah, but they should be very, very similar. Okay? So there you go, a trend line. Now we're going to select 2 points on the trend line that are as close as possible to being on that trend line. I'm going to pick this one and this one. Those 2 points look just about as perfect on the trend line as they can get. So the first one has an address of 8, 7. Remember, we go X and then Y. So it went right 8 and up 7. My second point has an address of 10 and 8. We'll write it above the dot because it got pretty dark. We are going to use these 2 coordinate points that are on our trend line to determine the slope of the trend line. So one of the formulas that you're going to use lots and lots here in Algebra 1 is the slope formula. And no, you don't have to actually memorize it, but it would be helpful if you did. But if you don't, that's okay. It is on your formula chart. If you don't have a formula chart, come and ask me. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So looking at the given coordinate points, my first point will be point 1, x1, y1. My second point will be x2 and y2. So now we're literally going to fill in the blanks and then use our calculator to help clean this up and get an answer. So y2, it has a value of 8. Minus, from the formula, y1, which has a value of 7. x2, which has a value of 10. Minus x1, which has a value of 8. Alrighty, 8 minus 7, you know that. You don't even need a calculator. That's 1. And 10 minus 8, you know what that is also? That's just 2. So the slope of our trend line has a rise over run, a rate of change of 1/2. 1 over 2. Nice job. Turn the page. Okay, so let's rewrite the answers, the answers that we had acquired on the previous page into these 2 points. We had 8 and 7 for x1 and y1. We had 10 and 8 for x2 and y2. And they're asking us to do the same thing that we did just a moment ago, only they're giving us the nice shapes to help us just process through it, and that's great. Just like we did, 8 minus 7, 10 minus 8, and we got 1/2. So written as a decimal, what's half of $1? Yeah, you know, 50 cents. 0.5 or 0.50, that's fine. So what you're going to be asked to do, well, one of the things you're going to be asked to do with a trend line, in addition to finding the slope, they're going to ask you to find the equation of the line. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. We're going to discuss 3 different ways today of how to do that. One way to do it by hand is to determine the y-intercept. So when you do that, you're going to be looking for B. Let's change colors. This is what I am looking for, is this B right here. Let's enlarge the screen. Okay, so I'm looking for that B, and we can use our x1 and our y1 from earlier in the problem to help us do that. So we had our coordinate point of 8, 7. This was x1 and y1. And we're going to use those again as we work through finding the y-intercept. We know that our slope, m, is 1/2. We found that twice, as a matter of fact. So this y is this y, 7, equals m, this m, 1/2. Remember, a letter and a letter side by side are multiplying. This x is that x, 8, plus b. And we're going to leave b as a letter so that we can go search for it and find it. All right, so order of operations, let's multiply. What is 1/2 of 8? Yeah, you know, it's 4. And then let's bring down the 7. So to finish solving for b, how do you get rid of the 4? Do you remember? Draw the river. Do the opposite of what's happening. This is a positive 4 that is adding to the b. So make it a negative 4. What you do on one side, that's right, you do to the other. So 7 minus 4, it's 3. There's b. All right, we've done the hard part, and you're doing great. So we're ready to write our equation. So if y equals mx plus b, and we know that our m is 1/2, now we can write in our b. We just found it. This guy. It's 3. That is our final equation. So that is one of the 3 ways I'm going to show you today to find the equation of your line. So that was by hand. The second way is also by hand. And we start off with a slightly different formula. This is called the point-slope form of an equation. I think as far as equation goes, this is one of your equation best friends. It's going to be really helpful for writing linear equations, but it is also on your formula chart in case you don't remember it. And again, you need a coordinate point. And we'll use that same coordinate point of 8, 7, and our same slope that we've already found, which is 1/2. So you need both of those pieces of information again. And we still know that 8 is x1 and 7 is y1. So we're going to replace the y1, the m, and the x1 with numbers. The plain old y and the plain old x, they stay as letters. But this 8, 7, and 1/2 are all going in. So y1 is 7. M is 1/2. x1 is 8. Okay, let's begin solving for y. The first time we did this by hand, a moment ago, there were two parts in that solving process. Part of what's nice about this equation, there's only one step and you're done. So let's distribute this 1/2 through the quantity of x minus 8. So I'll bring down my y minus 7. And let's multiply. 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. A positive times a negative, oh, that's a negative. And then 1/2 of 8. What is half of 8? Yeah, you know, it's 4. All right, we're almost done solving this equation for y, which is great. I just need to get rid of this minus 7. So remember, when you're moving things across the river, across the equal sign, you need to do the opposite of what's currently happening. Right now, this is minus 7. So the opposite of a minus is, yeah, a plus. And what you do on one side of the river, you do to the other. So let's add 7 underneath the 4. 7 is a regular number without a variable. 4 is a regular number without a variable. Those are called constants. So we put those together. We don't put the 7 underneath the x because that is a variable. That would be strange. Don't do that. So y equals 1/2 x, and then negative 4 plus 7. If that's weird in your brain, then you can say, oh yeah, it's positive 7 minus 4. That's just positive 3. And if it's still weird in your brain, pull out a calculator. You'll be fine. And there it is. You're done. You've written your equation. Done. So those are two ways now that we have seen to write the equation of the line using your process by hand. And let's go look at some more good information. Let's turn the page. All right. So this looks like we're back on our first page, but truthfully, the questions are different. So if you're like, hey, where is she? Make sure that you're looking at the page that has these questions. All right, down at the bottom of it. Because you're right, the table and the graph is exactly the same as it was on the first page. Okay, so same setting, we don't need to reread it, same table. We can again relabel that as x and y. Just for our own clarity, we can relabel our graph y-axis and x-axis. And the first thing we are asked to do, just like before, is to draw a trend line. So we've already done that once. So let's do that again real quick. There you go. Now we're going to determine the equation for the trend line. We've already done that twice by hand. I want to show you a third way to do that, but it completely uses the calculator. All right. So I am going to quickly write down some notes here on the right side of your paper. You will need to pause the video and write those down on your paper because I'm going to write them quickly. On a calculator app, on your calculator, so not on a graph, you're going to be looking straight on the calculator app like you were punching numbers, which you will be. You will push menu. You will push 6 for statistics. You will push 1 for stat calculations. You will push 3 for linear regression. And at this point, your calculator is going to open up a new screen and it's going to ask for an X list. When it does this, you're going to need to push two buttons, Control and then close parentheses, because it's going to open for you squiggly wiggly braces. And you're going to type in the numbers from your X row of your table into this space, and you're going to put a comma between each number. You're going to arrow down to the Y list. You are again going to put in squiggly wiggly braces with comma in between each number from the Y row of your table. And then you're going to push Enter 2 times. Enter, Enter, like the button. Enter, Enter, 2 times. It's going to open up a new screen, and it's going to give you a lot of information. It's going to give you an M. It's going to give you a B. Let's see, it will give you, well, really that's what you need at this point to write your equation. So y equals mx plus b. Okay? So push pause and make sure you have that written down, and then push play again, and I'll show you how to use this. All right, so I have my calculator, and I'm going to add a calculator. So this is the calculator app. Let's enlarge my screen so it's nice and big. Okay, so we're going to follow the instructions that we just wrote down on your paper. So the first thing we're going to do is push menu. And then I'm going to go down to statistics. So you push 6. And now I'm going to push 1 for stat calculations. And then I'm going to 3, linear regression, just like on your instructions on your paper. So you push 3. And here this is your new screen looking for an X list. And I told you you need to open up that list with squiggly wiggly braces. So let's see how to get them. You're going to push this control button right here, and then this close parentheses right there. Do you see right above it how those are squiggly wiggly braces? That's what we're going for. Okay? And you don't even need to push them at the exact same time. Just control and then close those parentheses. And you see, there they are, squiggly wiggly braces. So from your paper, we're going to begin putting in these numbers from my X list with commas in between them. So 1, comma. If you don't know where the comma is, it's down on the bottom left next to the letter O. So let's do this. 2, comma, 3, comma, 4, comma, 5, comma, 6, comma, 7, comma, 8, comma, 9, comma, 10, comma, 11, comma, 12. All right, do not put another comma at the after the 12. Don't. Arrow down to your Y list. Again, squiggly wiggly braces. So let's remember where to go get those. Control, and then close your parentheses. There they are on my screen. And we're going to type in your Y list, again with commas between each of your numbers. All right? So 3.5, comma, 3.0, comma, 4.0, comma, 5.5, comma, where am I? 7.0, comma, 6.5, comma, 7.5, comma, 7.0, comma, 7.5, comma, 8.0, comma, 9.0, comma, and 8.5. Now, in your instructions, it said push the enter button 2 times. This enter button 2 times. Let's do that. Enter, enter. Ta-da! Totally different screen. But check it out. There's your M. Ta-da! That's really close to exactly 1/2. And there's your B of 3.05. So close to what we had calculated. Ours was a very close estimate. This is exact. So once you get the rhythm of using the calculator, this goes very quickly. Okay? So we're going to use these numbers to write our equation. So now we can say M is equal to 0.52 if you rounded, and B is equal to 3.05 if you rounded. So our equation, y equals 0.52x plus 3.05. Done. Now we have our equation, and we got the calculator to do it for us. Nice job. All right, what does the slope of the trend line for this situation mean? It means that in an average 1 month, they will, I said that backwards. In an average month, late in the day. In an average month, the cafe, will earn about 1/2 of $1,000. Another way to say that is it will take 2 months to earn $1,000. That's their rate of growth. That's their profit. So if this profit continues, if it comes in this pattern, according to this trend line, will they be able to reach their goal by the 30th month? What was the goal? Let's go back and look at the very top of the page. The goal was $25,000 in 30 months. So let's use our equation to determine if that's going to happen. I don't know. Let's find out. So 30 is your months. This is your X. It's your timeline. So if our equation, y equals 0.52x plus 3.05, let's put that 30 in for the x. Y equals 0.52 times 30 plus 3.05. Let's type it into your calculator. 0.52 times 30 plus 3.05. Do we get 25? No. We get 18.65. This is way less. than 25. So they will not make their goal at this rate. Poor guys. Poor Maurice and Beatrice. All right. Let's go on to the next page.